Morning. So I woke up this morning early, which is rare for me, and I just felt compelled to get out on my bike, so I did. And as much as I have huge respect for those of you that get out on your road bikes and ride 80 kilometers before 4 o'clock in the morning, averaging 45 kilometers an hour, I've done that, not that fast, but I've done that. I just find it incredibly boring, but that's me. That's talking about my preference and my personality, to a certain extent, my characteristics, how I'm wired. What I prefer to do is get out on wherever it is, my mountain bike, and for me, I like the freedom of it, and I've never really understood why so much. I just enjoy it more. But being out here for whatever it is now, an hour and a half, and just riding around and finding myself in the middle of nowhere, not too sure how I got here, and also got to find my way back through a different route. It got me to thinking about why and how that related to what's going on at the moment in the world with the COVID-19 situation, and maybe, more to the point with me, a big topic that we focus on at Ignite is mental well-being, and it's something that I find a lot of people talk about. I honestly don't think, in my experience, that many, I won't say people because not an individual level, but almost organisations don't take it seriously enough. I think often it's lip service. I think there are some well-intentioned people within organisations, but whether they have the right influence or draw, or people just don't care enough because the numbers don't show up on a spreadsheet or a balance sheet, I don't know. Obviously I'm talking generically or in general terms. So if you're one of those people, a CEO or whoever you might be, that does care about mental well-being and has those programs in place and helps people understand how to have those conversations, maybe has a great EAP, great, kudos to you, and I encourage you to get out on any influencing platforms that you have and make that more noisy. But for me, I was just realizing, if I look back over, and a few people I know about this about me, but over the last 12 years, I think I've had a whole world of shit kind of rain down. Everything, if you look at those things that cause you the most stress in life, since 2008, I've gone through them all. My dad had prostate cancer. I think got married, which apparently causes stress. I had a son very, very quickly after that. My mum dropped dead of a heart attack 9 months later. In that time as well, I think we moved twice. 2012, oh no, before that I closed the business down because we weren't losing money, we weren't making money. So I always deemed myself a failure around that as well. Then my dad died of cancer in 2012, different cancer. And then had another son very quickly after that. Went through a couple of years of what I can look back now and realise was depression. Even though I wasn't aware of it. And I think if you are in that state, I don't think you are aware in the moment. It's only with, the term I always use is what an alcoholic would call moment of clarity, when you're able to look back and see yourself in that moment and recognise some of those symptoms of, I wake up in the morning and I go downstairs to look after my son, 1 year old, and I just fall asleep on the sofa. I just had no energy, and obviously that caused a lot of problems, in terms of my relationships and everything else. So it's only with that clarity of understanding that I've been able to understand that and go through a process in the last year maybe of understanding that and also forgiving myself for that. And then moving forward once again, starting another business, 2013. And those of you that have started your own businesses, whether it's still going or not, it's tough, right? I've been running since 2012. Oh, I got made redundant in that time as well. I forgot about that. But yeah, I been running since 2012, and I've had a few ups and a few downs. I've put a lot of money in myself. I think we're at a stage now where, in my business, I think we've built a great little team. I'm really proud of the work they do. I'm really proud of what we stand for. And it's just about really, doing what we can to get our message out there. This year, for the first time, we came into the year, for a small business, 2017, we ended up in a stage where we had 2 weeks working capital left. And that's not fun. So we talked about closing down all the rest of it, and I wouldn't have it. So here we are coming into this year. We're up at 4.5 months working capital. Not ideal, but not bad. You know, it means that worst case we could go 4.5 months without earning any revenue. But what on earth would cause that to happen? So here we are now. You know, since March, I think we've done maybe 4 jobs where we've actually earned money for it, and obviously the revenues are much smaller because we're running virtually. That also, you know, unfortunately doesn't mean that our overhead's reduced, because I'm still, you know, carrying a team. I don't want anyone to suffer greatly by losing their jobs or having to look at leaving the country, so we're working extremely hard to do that. But all of those things do build up, and as much as I believe, well, I believe, or I like to think, I'm resilient to a lot of stress, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me. You know, and if you've watched anything my colleague Ben's talked about, he's talked about 2 types of stress. You've got distress, which is the negative one, which is what we associate with the word, and then eustress, which is euphoric stress, which is, we all experience that as well, but we don't necessarily recognize it or even go after it when perhaps we should. And that's what got me to thinking, just coming up this rise here. I thought, I think that's what's helped me, and what I really hope would help a number of other people in this situation, is when I'm on my mountain bike, particularly when I'm on terrain like this, where it can be firm going and all of a sudden you hit soft sand and you realize you're in the wrong gear and the wheels go out beneath you and you have to fight to stay up, or you hit the deck. And then you get up and you carry on riding, right? You find the right gear and you keep moving forward. And for me, I suddenly thought that's just an analogy for my, I guess, philosophy in terms of how I live my life. I'm not saying this is going to work for you. You know, those of you that want to hit that cycle track and know that you're doing 80k and understand, you know, what's in front of you the whole way, great. I'm not trying to put my experience onto you. I'm just sharing mine for whatever value that has. And I realized what I found is that coming up, you know, on these kind of roads, I planned no route. I literally got on my bike and I've ended up here, right? I think I'm about 18 kilometers from home, and I'll find my way back. But for me, it's understanding that you're not always going to be in the right gear. You're going to be, you know, riding along. All of a sudden, you're going to hit a patch of soft sand or something where you're not in the right gear. You don't have that power to get through. The idea then is to frantically try and change down into the right gear to keep you moving forward through soft sand or whatever it might be that you've just hit. The analogy there, you know, if you are going through life and all of a sudden you hit soft sand or mud or something that's going to slow you down and you're not in the right gear in terms of the right state of mind, it's a question of how do you find that quickly enough? How can you change those levels? And for me, all I can do when I'm on this bike is focus what's directly in front of me, what's in front of my wheel. I'm not even looking at the top of the hill. I'm not worried about what's at the top of the hill, because right now, that's not what's going to take me off this bike. It's that pothole I'm about to go into. It is that bit of soft sand that I hadn't seen approaching it that I'm going to be in the wrong gear for. So it's essentially trying to be in that moment, to be mindful as much as I possibly can of where I am. You know, you're everyone, not just your, but everyone's brains, you know, we are carrying time machines in our head. You know, I forget who used this analogy, so I apologize, and I will credit them if I can remember. But they said, you know, we're never in the present. We're either in the future or in the past. And that's one thing I love about being out here. Don't get me wrong, it's 20 past 7, it's starting to get hot. But I love the fact that when I'm out here, not on a road bike, because that's, you know, once again, I can just think about the future and I know that there's not too many surprises coming. But out here, I have to be in the moment. It is one of the best pieces of advice I can give anyone, particularly if you're going through tough times at the moment as we're approaching, hopefully, the end of isolation, the end of lockdown. But it's just to make sure that you're in the moment, be you know, grateful for what you have in the present. And I know there's a lot of people that don't actually see what's right in front of them. They are too worried about what's up the end of the road. If you can get yourself into that moment, like me when I sit on this bike, and don't get me wrong, it's not to say I don't worry and think about what's up, you know, what's ahead of me in my own personal journey and life. But when I'm out here, it grounds me, it brings me centered, and I find myself in a much better place, a happier place, an easier place to deal with what's going on around me in my world. So as much as I do know there's been a lot of people suffering, you know, from a mental health point of view, from a financial point of view, you know, now we're starting to see, you know, real economic impacts of this with people losing their jobs, and I do empathize greatly with anyone that's going through that process at the moment. Families that have not been able to be together. There's a great video yesterday of a little girl hugging her grandparents because she hadn't seen them for 3 months, and all the rest of it. It does help me, and I hope it helps other people as well, relate to the human experience. And what I hope this whole situation has done is given everyone a little bit more insight in terms of the fact that we're not just, you know, taxis for our brain walking around going to different places and trying to make money and earn money and put food on the table. Yeah, of course that has to happen, but also I really hope that we come out of this. I really hope we do, but in a year's time I can imagine we will go back to it, but we come out of this more human, more understanding, more empathizing of each other. You know, being able to go and knock on your 90-year-old neighbour's door and just ask, how are you? Is there anything I can do? Don't knock on the door if you're worried about it. Give them a call, put a note through the door in a sealed plastic bag, whatever it's going to take. But once again, you know, for me, and I appreciate I've been rambling for a long time on this now, but for me, it was just coming up here. I just felt a moment where it was, okay, I got no idea where I am. I got no idea where I'm going, but I'm present and I'm mindful and I'm enjoying it. And in the nicest possible way, I'm at peace. So I hope you can find that, whether it's, you know, through some way or another. There's lots of ways you can practice mindfulness or being present in the moment. But whatever you do, find it. It is something that will help you a great deal in not just this point in history, because we are living history, right? But just generally in your life. Find those moments, find something that's going to help you get present and get in the moment. Enjoy it, appreciate the ones around you, be grateful for what you've got, not what you haven't got, and live your life to the best of your ability. Thank you very much for listening. Be good.